Hello, everyone. Wow, it's been a while. Peak Human is back. I'm Brian Sanders, your host. I've taken 8 months off working on Food Lies, doing so many other things. Got so much to update. Got a great episode today with Chris Kruger. First of all, Food Lies is well underway. We finally signed with the production company, a different one than I was mentioning before. Really high quality company that gets stuff on Netflix all the time. We're trying to attach an A-list celebrity. We're doing it all. Everyone's excited. Maha is full swing. That's why this production company is going with us, because they see how huge it's going to be and how much momentum there is in the real health world. So know that that's coming soon. Go back, listen to old episodes. I'm not going to do more episodes that are the same. So go back and listen to the old episodes. You can work backwards. So much great content out there. So many prominent doctors and scientists. I can't redo these interviews. These are foundational interviews and amazing content that has shaped my way of thinking in a huge way. So you should go back and listen to all these while you wait for more episodes to come. But I have a new season. It's going to be awesome. Let me know on Instagram who you want to hear from. Follow me at Food Lies. DM me. I check my messages. Now on to this show with Chris Kruger. Such great feedback on the last one. He is all about natural hormone optimization, which everyone needs, males, females. This is kind of your number one goal, other than not being obese or have chronic disease, is to have optimal hormones. And that's actually how you accomplish these things, is getting your hormonal system to work correctly. And he lays out the plan for that. He's worked with so many hundreds of people to help them. So lots of actionable insights here, stuff you can start doing for free today, tomorrow, as soon as possible. So you're going to love this episode. At the end, we talk about my new oyster product from Nose to Tail. This is really the only supplement you need. It's barely a supplement. It's really just a real food that's concentrated and put into a capsule. And it has all the building blocks you need for your hormones to work correctly. It's got zinc, selenium, magnesium, some B vitamins, copper. So many people are lacking these, and this is how your body works properly. It needs these plus all the real food. So check it out at nosetotale.org. This is my little company. This is how we keep the lights on around here. This is how you support the mission, support your own health, support your hormones. That's at nosetotale.org. We also got the body care products, of course, made from beef tallow. We're the original beef tallow body care. Everyone's copying me. I started this many years ago. So check that out and enjoy this one with Chris Kruger. We are back. Chris Kruger, what's going on, man? Back for another episode.
Dude, it is so great to be back. I just got the best response. I've been on a couple of podcasts, but your audience, the courage they had, they reached out. And it was so great to hear. You're like, oh man, I've listened to all Brian's episodes. That was my favorite one ever. And dude, I got to be completely honest. And I'm serious when I say this, dude. It's such an honor to be back. I love the Peak Human podcast and what you're doing, right? I told you this on the last one, but you're really one of the real voices in the what we call it, the wellness space. Mm-hmm. That I send people to that you can actually trust.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel about you. You are someone that actually knows how to work with people and get things done and make changes. Hormone optimization is your specialty. That's what we're going to talk about today. That's what everyone needs, whether they know it or not. You need hormone optimization. And so many people are asking how to do it, or they're trying to do cheat codes to try to do it with TRT, supplementation, or all these different methods. But what people really want to know, or what they should want to know, is how to do it naturally, how to do it sustainably for life, how to fit in those genes, as we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I think that's a great metric. That's kind of your metric. And yeah, tell us more.
Okay, so the concept right off the bat, and this is the call to action, the challenge for your audience, right, is do you fit in your forever genes? And the easiest way to calculate this is you take your height in inches, you multiply times 0.45, and you round down, right? So at my height, I'm 6'3" and 5/8. And so at my height, I should wear 34-inch jeans. And I wear them and I slide them on comfortably, and there's no problem. We wear these jeans year round. Those are the biggest jeans you should ever wear, because your waist size on your jeans, on your pants, It is your health. It is your fitness. It is your physique. And, sadly for most people, it is your future, right? So Dr. Joe Reven back at Stanford in like the 80s and 90s, he's talking about syndrome X. And that's modern metabolic syndrome. It's what the mean siblings are always talking about. Oh, it's metabolic syndrome. Well, dude, Brian, you and I have been talking about this for like a decade already. And so I talked on the episode last time, triglycerides and HDL, that ratio. And we're both like 0.5, right? The triglycerides are rock bottom, the HDL is sky high. Blood pressure, blood sugar, all of these metrics. I don't need to send you to the lab. I can just say, hey, do your genes fit? How does your physique look? And so the truth is, for your audience, if you're not fitting in those size genes, you are just leaving the door wide open to metabolic disease and then the cascade of diseases that come from there. And so if you want to look great and feel great and be great, if you want to extend the prime of your life, if you want to capture a new prime of your life, right, in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you have to fit into the right size genes. And so I think you were telling me, like, dude, you're like 6 feet tall, 5'11"?
I'm 5'10" and a half. Well,
Call it 5'10". Okay. But you're wearing 28-inch jeans,
yeah.
right? Which is so excellent because you have the narrow waist with no visceral fat, right? The fat that's leaking out of your liver and getting stuck in and crowding your organs. You don't have that, right? Dr. Reven called this abdominal adiposity. And so actually, the most important health metric is, can you pull on those jeans, button them up, and look in the mirror and look great, feel great, be great? Is there any belly over your belt line? Is there any muffin top hanging out the side? Is there any back fat? Because there shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a struggle. And so just like you, the size jeans rounding down that I should be in for my height, 34s. Most of the time, I'm wearing 32s. I have a couple of old pairs of 34s that they're just comfy jeans, right? That size should be your comfy jeans, and then a couple, an inch down, 2 inches down should be the jeans you're in almost all the time.
Good type.
Right?
Yeah. Well, like board shorts. So yeah, for me, it's like 28-inch board shorts or things that have to fit without a belt. I go 28-inch. I can wear 29. Sometimes at 30. If it's 30, I have to use a belt. But yeah, it's actually what doctors use. So waist to height ratio is a thing that's in the literature. And Dr. Ted Naiman, my friend, talks about this a lot. I love Ted. He's like the new thing I bring up. I bring up Weston Price and Ted on so many episodes, but he just keeps it simple, right? He uses waist height ratio, and he sees 100,000 patients. He just is one of those doctors that's kind of an influencer, but also just sees patients all day, every day, and he sees patterns. He knows things, and he completely agrees with you. It's triglyceride to HDL ratio and your waist. That's it.
Dude, well, what's funny is like all of the clients that I've ever had that are in, so my home state is Washington State, where Ted lives. I always send them to him. I'm like looking him up on Yelp. I'm like leaving reviews like Ted Naiman's the best doctor ever. So, dude, and this is what you said in our last episode, right? It's like we are of a same mind, right? Is that I see you as like someone that's actually giving helpful advice, right? And I think that's something we can dig into is like, guys, however we have to get there, you have to get into this forever gene size, right? And you have to do it a natural way. We can't, and this is so sad, is like so many people have outsourced their hormones to HRT and TRT, which is absolutely not the way to do it. We need natural hormone optimization. And the thing is, if your body makes a hormone, you should never take that hormone. Right? You have to find the way to naturally upregulate it to get the result that you want. Right? So if we have, something's messed up with our serotonin, we got to find a way to get more serotonin. We can't go on SSRIs. That's not going to be helpful because that's just, serotonin is a neurotransmitter. It's a hormone.
It's a temporary hack that kind of seems like it works. And maybe they have studies in, 6-week studies that shows that it works. But you're actually doing yourself harm in the long run because you're trying to outsource it.
Well, so that's exactly the metaphor I use with my clients is like for TRT, number one, it's impossible to do testosterone replacement therapy unless you got both your gonads crushed and they're no longer there, right? So what people do is they go in with a normal range TRT, and with a normal range testosterone. And they'll see that they're in the middle or the low end. And the anti-aging doctor that wants you on a lifetime subscription to their product because you're going to shut down your endogenous, your natural production, they say, you know what? This is kind of in the middle of the range, or this is kind of low. We could beef those numbers up. For you, Brian, like, and this is not for you, but for anyone out there, you might be totally fine and feel great at a 400. You might be totally fine and feel great at a 500. It's not low for right? It's like we have this wonderful factory that's turning out all these widgets we need, and the factory's great, and the town is wonderful and it's vibrant. And we said, you know what? We could probably get more of these widgets produced if we just imported them from China. Well, what happens to your factory and what happens to your town when you shut the factory down because you're taking in the cheap imports? And so the only way to get there is natural hormone optimization. And it's not just testosterone, it's also insulin, right? It's also melatonin, it's also serotonin. It's all of it's growth hormone. It's how do we tick your cortisol down? And it is very easy to do because it's not, you know, use more willpower with your diet and more willpower with your exercise to create the calorie deficit. That's total nonsense. It's just doing the right things in the right order, the right way. And that's what makes it so accessible. Like you could do a 14-minute home workout every day. I have like half my clients are at that level, right? 14 minutes a day. There's no excuses. You don't have to get a gym membership. You don't have to commute to the gym. You don't have to pack a gym bag. Dude, you just hit play on a 14-minute video and you can have washboard abs and fit into your forever jeans. And to most people listening, it's, oh, that's way too good to be true. But Brian, and this is what I love about your content, is you've reposted like the colorized footage of like New York in the 20s or, 1960s PE class, right? Everyone is healthy and fit and everything is so simple. There weren't any gyms in the country in the 1920s. If you were working out with weights in the 1920s, people are like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, do you have a mental disorder? Like, why are you doing that? Right? I think there's a Henry Ford quote, and I think a lot of quotes get misattributed to him. But he's like, he called everything bunk. He's like, exercise is bunk, right? If you're healthy, you don't need it. And if you're not healthy, you shouldn't do it. And so that's not my view, but we do way too much because what exercise should be for is to trigger growth hormone, right? It's a hormone. It's all about hormones. It's not about calories. It's all about reality, and reality is your hormones. So we need to trigger a pulse of growth hormone. We can easily do that in 10 to 15 minutes, right? We don't have to squat 1,000,000 pounds. We can easily do that in 10, 15 minutes in anywhere, right? A small hotel room, a prison cell, anywhere you can do that, at the park, wherever. And then we need to create insulin sensitivity. And you know what? Along the way, you'll train your fast twitch muscle fibers and your muscles will get bigger. But we do not need to train for cardio. We do not need to train for calories. We do not need to train for bodybuilding and having the biggest muscles. We just need to worry about our hormones and let the hormones do the heavy lifting, right? Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense to your audience.
No, this is perfect. This is what I talk about forever is that, and I do my workouts. I only work out 60 minutes per week in the gym, 60 minutes. I haven't done more than that in my entire life, except for 2007 at UCLA. I actually did, hit the gym a lot with my buddy for like 4 months. Other than that, 60 minutes is the most I've ever been in the gym in 1 week's time. And yeah, it's about efficiency. It's about, it's about sustainability, and it's about, just being optimal with what you're actually trying to get from it, right? People think that they're going to out exercise their diet. It's just insane, like the calorie part.
Well, and I think it's even more pernicious, right? Because we do not have a health and fitness industry, right? We have this diet weight loss supplement industry with like bolted on body dysmorphia,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if we actually care about wellness, we're going to care about naturally optimizing our hormones. But when the quote unquote health and fitness industry, they tell you what's the whole model, right? All the influencers in that space are the same. And it's why we don't want to be a part of that industry, is that it is only eat less, move more. It's calories in, calories out. Well, what happens when you force yourself to do that? And the statistics are clear. It's like by the time, Brian, you get to our age, is every man in America has seriously tried 6 times to lose weight. And 6 times they do some program of eat less, move more, whatever version of it is, or it's rebranded as a fad diet, and they lose some and gain it all back.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that 6 times in your life, and by the time you're ready for number 7, you're like, yeah, forget it. But you hold on to this belief that it's my fault, right? I just don't have the discipline. I don't have the willpower. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. And that's absolutely crushing for people. And it's what leads people to give up hope.
Well, it's what leads people to say it's their genetics. It's what leads to the fat acceptance movement. I get it. I post about this stuff a lot, and I think I lose followers every time I post it about it. But I'm not trying to be mean to people who are overweight and they're not doing well, and they're blaming everything but reality. I'm just trying to wake people up to that, exactly what you're talking about, that this paradigm doesn't work. The calories in, calories out paradigm doesn't work. Of course, I get the laws of thermodynamics. I'm a mechanical engineer. I get it, right? I get there's some sort of energy exchange, and if you take in more energy, then you expect that you expend more energy than you take in, you can lose weight. But that's sort of just not the point. Like the hormones, like how your body burns calories, that there's so much more to it than that equation.
Well, and the more to it, and I love that you brought that up, because I know you just had that post on your Instagram on Food Lies where it's like the woman's like, I must have a slow metabolism. And
Yeah.
they put her under the hood and they measure her metabolic rate and like, no, you're normal. And she's like, oh, well, I thought it was so romantic that I had I had a slow metabolism. It's not romantic. It is. And the thing is, like, there's people in those comments, they're like, oh yeah, it's her fault. Well, if the only information, if the mainstream narrative, if whether we call it propaganda or it's just the main, if
Mhm.
everything is telling you it is your fault, right? All you had to do was eat less and move more, right? And then, people, to cope with that, you're like, oh, it's my genetics, it's my DNA, it's my slow metabolism. Everyone, you have human hormones, and a lot of these hormones are the same across all the species on the planet, right?
Mm.
Lobsters have serotonin and testosterone. You have serotonin and testosterone, right? And I don't want to lose women out there. Listen, I say the word testosterone a lot because it's so easy for me to talk to men about that. But everything I'm saying, it almost goes doubly or triply for women, right? Natural hormone optimization is even more important, right? Because now you're working with a 28-day cycle instead of a 24-hour cycle. Did I say 28 days? I hope I said 28.
Yes.
Okay, good. I was like, did I say 24 and 24? Okay.
No.
And so the reality is, Brian, because you're saying, hey, I'm an engineer. I get thermodynamics. I understand that. That game, I call that game the calorie game. And when you try to play the calorie game, and when you're trying to force the calorie game, you're trying to win the calorie game, you always lose.
Mhm.
And so I worked at a gym starting, I don't know, I was like 20 years old. And they're like, okay, well, here's how you explain it, Chris. Hey, there's calories in, there's calories out. And this is, I'm helping people join the gym, right? Like, okay, there's calories in, calories out. We just need to create a 500 calorie a day deficit. Your body has so much innate intelligence. So we say, okay, we're gonna work out and burn, air quotes, burn 200 calories, right?
Mhm.
We always talk about burning calories. There's no smoke, there's no ash, there's no fire. That like you're not burning calories. We metabolize, right? Or we can just lose calories, right? If you go outside, the calories just leave your body if it's a cold day, because your number one fat burner is always that your body's trying to stay 98.6 degrees. It's you're warm blooded. You got to stay warm, right? We're going to burn fat to accomplish that. We're going to lose heat to the outside air. But back on my point, right? When we try to force the calorie game, we try to force the calorie deficit, is number one, as soon as you eat less, you want to move less. This is your hormones. If we're eating less, we should be moving less. But now I've got to force myself to move more. As soon as I move more, I want to eat more. And so the whole health and fitness industry, every bodybuilder with the giant veins, every, cardio person, hey, eat less, move more. You just gave me the impossible formula, right? The unsustainable formula, the formula that breaks every time. And then I'm supposed to feel bad that I can't
The
stick to it.
formula's for hunger. I mean, it's like you just gave someone a hunger formula. How, like, if I
Yeah,
was
exactly.
asked, how would I make someone the hungriest? I would say, okay, do a lot of try to burn, do a lot of cardio and eat less.
Right. Well, we can do it with lifting weights too. Right.
Yeah.
And so the truth is, if we wanted to be natural bodybuilders, we could go to the gym and lift big to get big. But then what's going to happen is we're going to eat big. And so every natural bodybuilder that tries to cut their weight for the show crashes their testosterone absolutely through the floor. Right. And so,
Actually, can I throw in shout out to Nick Bear? He's like kind of hybrid athlete, popular guy on the YouTubes and whatnot. He posted he trained for a show, got
mhm,
super ripped, 5% body fat, and he showed he had almost zero testosterone.
yeah, you
You
go hypogonadal
yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just glad he shared it publicly because no one shares that stuff. He
yeah.
showed his like tests.
And it's embarrassing. It's like, and that's what I mean when I say like it's it's a weight loss diet pill supplement industry that has now added Ozempic and TRT to be even more terrible,
Mhm.
bolted on to body dysmorphia, right? We look at health and fitness, and it's the guy in his Speedo or his board shorts, it's with the fake vegetable oil spray tan, trying to smile, even though he hasn't, eaten in a week or something, right? And he's got testosterone dropped through the floor, right? He's actually working on losing all his hair, right? Like the that whole thing. And so the only way for bodybuilders to get through this is everyone just goes on the side salad or the main salad, right? They go on to TRT and steroids. And so what you're actually doing when you try to exercise that formula, the eat less, move more, is you just automatically slow down your metabolism, right? It's like, hey man, I want to pay less for my energy bill. Well, your body's smart. Like, oh, well, if you're going to pay less for your energy bill, here's how we do it. We just turn down the temperature, right? And so that 500 calorie deficit that you were working so hard that you were forcing yourself to create just goes down. Your body's like, hey, we were gonna be 98.6, Brian, but I guess we'll be 98.2. And you're not gonna know the difference, except you're gonna hit a hard plateau despite the fact that you're still doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, right? Despite you're still eating in the deficit. The deficit disappeared. Then it's more willpower to exercise more, and it's more willpower to eat less. And so you're draining your willpower down. You're looking at ravenous hunger, right? And you're crashing your hormones. Like your friend there crashes his testosterone. And so none of it works. None of it has ever worked. And your whole audience, I don't want it's a get out of jail free card for everybody, right? If all we've been exposed to is the mainstream narrative, just forgive yourself. And then let's talk about how would we actually naturally optimize our hormones, right? And so for a lot of people, it just comes with number one, interpreting the signal for hunger, right? Your hormones are sending you signals. And if we just know how to interpret them, we can get a long way to doing the right things. And so one thing that I always ask my VIP clients, Brian, in my first onboarding call with them is I'll say, Brian, what does hunger mean to you? It's your hormones trying to tell you something. What are your hormones trying to tell you?
Eat more.
Eat more. But Brian, that's the problem, right? So hunger, ghrelin, right? And so, you are insulated by your whole sapien lifestyle, right? Where we're doing all the right things, we're exercising, we're doing all these things. But for the average person, they're thinking hunger means eat, right? And if you think that hunger means eat, you're gonna get on the whether we're eating healthy or not, but you might stop in the drive-thru, you might get on DoorDash, you might get on Grubhub. And so the truth is, hunger means hunter. And this is the way I set it up. If it's Brian Wolf and Chris Wolf, and we're wolves in the wolf den, and Brian Wolf is like, yo, Chris Wolf, I'm hungry. Crystal's like, Brian, I'm hungry too. What do we do about this? Well, we got to go out of the wolf den. We got to get out of the wolf cave. We got to put our noses in the air. We got to look at the sunshine. We got to go outside. And then we'll get the scent of the bison herd, right? And then we are hunters. And the thing is, the wolf pack, if they're successful, they end up at the buffalo buffet, right?
Mhm.
And so hunger means hunter. And if you've ever, like Brian, hey man, I'm a little bit hungry right now, but I want to get my workout done first, right? It just sets your day up better. And then you do that workout and you're like, I'm not even hungry, but I know it's time to eat.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we're not, but isn't that a great place to be like, hunger, man, I was supposed to go exercise. I create the insulin sensitivity. I release the growth hormone. And I train my fast twitch muscle fibers in the process, which is a good thing. I become more athletic, more actually fit. And so now we're at the bison buffet, but we don't just eat until we're stuffed, right? Because your innate intelligence, if we're eating until we're stuffed, it means we're eating low quality, non-nourishing food. And you are eating until the mechanical receptors of your stomach are like, dude, we're going to pop a stomach here. Like, we got to stop eating, right? This is like we go to the Jade Palace Chinese buffet and we're stuffed. And then we leave and like 90 minutes later, we're ravenously hungry again.
Yeah.
And so the wolf pack eats and we should eat to trigger leptin, right? This is the hormone game. This is setting it up. If we know hunger means hunter and we beast before we feast, then when we feast, we need to feast in a way that triggers leptin. And you trigger leptin by having bountiful, complete protein. Because, Brian, what's your favorite steak, dude?
Favorite steak?
Yeah.
Oh, ribeye.
Bro, it's the only right answer, right?
Yes.
Ribeye. And so if you and we go out, and I don't, whatever the best restaurant in Austin is, right? I come see you and we're out at the best restaurant in Austin. Do you have an idea for what that is? Are we going to give them a shout out?
Oh, no, I don't have a good shout out. Oh, we'll call it Dai Due. That's a good place that actually, they like care about their ingredients. Some of it's wild hunted. Dai Due.
Okay.
Hard to
so
say.
I'm coming to Austin. I'm taking you out to dinner there.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say they have a I don't know, 30-ounce tomahawk on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How are you getting yours cooked?
Medium rare.
Again, the only right answer. So we got a couple of medium rare 30-ounce tomahawks coming out. How much of that tomahawk are you going to eat? We just worked out too. We worked out at Sapien Center. And now we've come to, it's Dai Due?
Yeah.
Okay, we come to Dai Due. How much of the 30-ounce medium rare best tomahawk you've ever had in your life, how much of that are you going to eat?
I mean, I don't know if I can finish it. I'd probably eat until I'm full. Like maybe I'm eating like 18 ounces. I have no idea.
Okay. And so then this is the thing is like, I like to, with my clients, separate the concept of full and like satiated.
Yes.
Right?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like, and here's the thing. You can always be like, dude, I'm 18, and some people will go eat more. I'll eat the whole 30-ounce steak, whatever.
Yeah.
At some point, you've triggered the leptin, and it's not that we're really full. Like, it's not that Chinese buffet feeling. It's, I'm just no longer interested in this food. I know that the ribeye medium rare at Dai Due is my favorite food in the world, and I'm asking for a to-go box, right? Because you've triggered the leptin where you're not interested in it anymore. And the interesting thing is, at that point, we could always slip a dessert menu under your nose and be like, oh, the creme brulee is amazing. Do you want that? And so we always have the dessert pouch, right? We can always give into a craving. But you know that if hunger means hunter and we beast before we feast and we eat in a way that triggers leptin, the steak is actually not stretching your stomach out, right? The steak is like instantly liquefying in your stomach acid, getting into your intestine, getting into your bloodstream, and triggering the leptin that says, Brian, you are nourished. And the amazing thing about that is you are only ever going to trigger leptin and say, dude, we're not interested in food anymore after you have abundant tryptophan. And so tryptophan isn't the thing that triggers the leptin, but it comes with complete protein, which is why it's so important to eat, nose to tail animal source protein, right? And so now we've got all this abundant tryptophan, and our next assignment, right? Now we can like start thinking about playing the hormone game, right? So we don't have to worry about the calories. Hunger met hunter. We didn't. We went to the awesome steakhouse. We didn't worry about calories in the slightest. We're not trying to create a deficit. We will win the calorie game automatically by winning the hormone game. If we try to play the calorie game, we will lose it every time. because our body will fight us back. But now your hormones, you are harnessing them. They are the wind in your sails. And so tryptophan, every year at Thanksgiving, gets this terrible rap. Oh, I had so much turkey. There was so much tryptophan. I took a nap on the couch during the Cowboys game. Tryptophan did not do that to you. The carb coma from all the stuffing and apple pie did that to you. But tryptophan, it's not a branched chain amino acid. It's not an essential amino acid. And so your body can try to make tryptophan from the other proteins, the other amino acids that you have in your system, but it will never make enough for your human thriving, which again is why it's important to trigger the leptin eating complete protein, right? With all that tryptophan, we can now do the number one thing that you need to really do to enter the hormone game, and that is create serotonin, right? And so serotonin, the precursor is tryptophan. You already have it from triggering the leptin. And so the thing is, Brian, when we do this right, like every step makes the next step easier, right? When we try to do it the other way, when we're trying to do the calorie game, every step makes the next step harder. I try to eat less. I force myself to exercise more. My metabolism slowed down. My hormones crashed. I drained my willpower. Everything gets harder. And that's why people, they feel inadequate and they want to have these romantic ideas of, I just have a slow metabolism. No, we just need to harness your hormones to actually get your metabolism moving. Like, does all that make sense?
This is so good. I love how you explain this because I didn't even know your new spiel. This is amazing, and we didn't rehearse any of this, but this is so good because you're on a flywheel, which makes it easier. So that's what people always ask me. How do you do it? Like what? Like whenever people see me around town, or like I go to Barton Springs and pop the shirt off, and they're like, "Oh man,
Yeah.
you're so ripped, man. You must be like so disciplined. You must do this. You must do that." I'm like, well, actually not. I don't think I have any more willpower than anyone else. Maybe I have less. I'm a bit lazy in a sense where I'm an engineer. I try to take the easy way out. I try to be, how can I do this the most efficiently without trying so hard? And like I said, I've not spent more than 60 minutes in the gym in 20 years. So the point is, if you do the right things, like you're saying, you're on this flywheel of making things easier. So if I'm eating the nutrient dense foods and I'm eating the complete proteins, animal based stuff, I'm eating the whole foods on the side, it's delicious and easy for me. Then I have the energy to work out. And then since I did that, I have the leptin to feel full. Then I'm not thinking about food forever. I'm not snacking. I don't snack. People know me. They think I'm insane. They're offering me stuff. I'm just like, I am not interested in your snacks. I don't want it. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
I'll put it in my pocket and like eat it later if it's some sort of like thing they made me. I don't know, like a protein bar or like a chocolate someone made me. Then yeah, I'm like, oh, I'll save it for later. I'm not interested in snacking. And I mean, that's a whole nother topic that we can get into too, because I think a lot of people, their downfall is snacking. But the point is, I'm setting myself up for success by doing all the right things. And then this flywheel turned easy. And it's such a good point where people are on the flywheel of death when they're doing the wrong things and it gets harder and harder.
Yeah. Well, like you say about snacking, it's like you can just be like on a flight, right? And the flight attendant wants to come and give you the snacks. And it's like, oh, sometimes like they're mad. These are free snacks. Like you're not taking this. Like, I don't want your snacks. In fact, at one point I was talking with some friends. I was like, dude, I should write a book that's just called Snacks Are for Fat Kids. Right? Because like snacks are only keeping you fat. Right. And so we need to be nourished. We need to trigger the leptin so that we can move on with our lives, so that we can actually be productive at other things. Back in the day, the mainstream bodybuilder paradigm was you have to eat 6 small meals every day, or we're going to eat 3 meals with 3 snacks in between. And so you spend the whole day, basically hopping from lily pad to lily pad of the next meal, the next snack, the next meal. You're eating every 90 minutes. And what that does is it throws your hormones entirely out of whack, right? Because we can't get a big pump of growth hormone because we need more insulin to digest the snack that you just had. And so you're actually totally working against yourself when you do that sort of a thing. And so the reason we trigger leptin is so that we can effortlessly fast. It's not, fasting isn't hard. We want to effortlessly fast to restore our insulin sensitivity. And so, Brian, like, here's the examples. Like even the health, again, people, if you're listening, it's always the air quotes. Even the healthiest snack, right? The handful of, these are organic almonds. Here you go, Brian. Is if we get deeper into the model, what we really need to do to fit into those forever genes, to slide on, the 32s or the 30s or the 28s and be comfy in them, is we need to have less abdominal adiposity, less belly fat, less visceral fat. We need a narrower waist. We need to be able to go down to the springs and pop the top and have everyone be like, whoa, dude, you look awesome. Right. And this something I tell people is like, so many people come to me and the goal is something on the order of Brad Pitt Fight Club. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm onboarding this new client tomorrow where he's like, he's 33 now, but since he's been 18, he's had like the same physique. And he's an English guy, so he's like up 2 stone, right? He's like 28 pounds heavier than he should be, ideally. And I'm like, dude, to drop 2 stone and look like Brad Pitt Fight Club is like a 3-month or maximum 6-month operation if we were just harnessing your hormones naturally, right? Brad Pitt Fight Club or the 1920s like colorized New York footage or the 1960s gym class
We'll
footage.
use a female example too, because all this applies to females. Just like women back in the day, they weren't overly skinny. They just a lot of women that like were in films just looked great, almost naturally.
Yeah, well, and I think the Hollywood, I would say in the last 15 years, especially maybe 25, has pushed this like crazy idea of like female beauty where it's like, oh, well, it's just how good is your plastic surgeon, right? But if we go back before 2000, we're like, look at these actually beautiful women, and even further back, it's like everything is going to apply, whether it's the narrow waist, or we can also look in terms of BMI. I like the waist because it's the more direct measurement,
Mm-hmm.
right? But BMI, or we could, BMI is just your height and weight ratio, basically. And so everyone should be, male or female, should be aiming for a 21 to 25 BMI. And like, I'm a little bit outside of that. Like, I just carry more muscle, but it would actually be ideal for me to be lighter than I am, right? Like 6'3", 215, I look great. I would want to be 205, but I'd get so lean at 210 that it's like, well, someday I'll get this extra muscle off of me, right? But that's the size you should be, and maybe the size I should be, is just what we can accomplish naturally when we go to natural hormone optimization, not trying to be the biggest and the strongest, but doing hunger means hunter, get actual core strength. This is what I spend so much time building up with my clients, is actual core strength, right? Why are we going to try to make your arms and legs strong if we don't have the core to control anything? And before we can make your legs strong, we got to be able to balance, right? So I think I mentioned this last time, but before COVID, I went to work as air quotes again, people, master personal trainer at Equinox. And so Equinox is like the fanciest gyms in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the Rolls Royce of gyms. And so I would be there, and I'm working my way up to being their number one trainer in the world. At the time, they had 106 clubs and over 3,000 trainers. And so I'm working there, and I would start every single client with basically the same 15-minute workouts that I have half my online clients doing now. And it's like, if we cannot stand on one leg and stretch our quadricep and balance, what are we even doing? Like, we don't need a squat rack. We don't need more preacher curls. We don't need more machines, right? And so until we have like balance and mobility and core strength, there's nothing else to work on. And the other one I do with people is I have like a 2-minute jumping jacks routine. If we can't do 2 minutes of jumping jacks without being totally gassed and complaining that our ankle hurts, like, we've got work to do before we would ever think about needing a gym, right? And then, Brian, I'm eager to hear, like, we were talking a little offline, like, what's up with you and like the unified model that you've been talking about?
Oh yeah. Well, this is all good. Yeah. So this exercise stuff is good too, because I'm just into the most basic exercise stuff and body weight stuff. The workout's like 25, 30 minutes. I just do it twice a week. And you're completely correct. Like, you don't need much more than a couple dumbbells. It's like I have a dip bar, pull-up bar, and the dumbbells. And
Yeah.
I can do that in any gym. Like, I've never even owned a gym membership. I've done this in apartment complexes. I live in LA, you know, you just got to live in an apartment complex. And that's all I need. Or you do it in a hotel gym. So, so yes, you got that. And then to the food stuff, the unified model, that's kind of like everything I've been doing for 10 years, 8 years full time is kind of culminating into the the unified model, which is against the calorie paradigm, right? So I'm trying to submit this as a scientific paper. So I'm talking to some PhDs that I've had on my show over the
Awesome.
years. You know, let's get together like the Power Rangers, the dream team of PhDs and doctors, and submit this paper. But it kind of leads to the stuff you're talking about of, well, what does a human body need? I guess is the next level. I like how you're not preaching a diet. Like so far, you haven't preached any diet, right? Because and I over the years, I kind of don't want to preach a diet either. I've kind of zoomed out and just got into a framework, or the unified model is kind of just a framework of what humans need for food, right? Your body doesn't know the name of your diet. The body doesn't know really anything. It just knows that it needs nutrients and it needs energy to power itself.
Yeah. Well, and how many people get hung up on the dogma of like what their diet is called? And because they're a carnivore or they're a vegan or they're paleo or they're keto or they're Atkins, is it doesn't allow them to just do what would be the most helpful. And so what I explain to my clients is that we could imagine that all food exists on a spectrum, right? And what is the most important thing for your diet? It's not the false dichotomies of this is paleo, this is not paleo, or this is good and this is bad, or this
Mhm.
is natural and this is unnatural. And so, for reference, we might talk about some of those things. Be like, well, I prefer this one and it's natural and it's good and it's healthy and it's unprocessed. Absolutely. More foods that are helpful are going to be on that end of the spectrum, right? I think like Dave Asbury has a thing where he's like, well, cyanide in apple seeds is natural. It doesn't mean we should eat apple seeds and poison ourselves with cyanide, right?
Mhm.
And so I have my clients, I'm like, okay, imagine this whole spectrum. It's not whether it's healthy or unhealthy, it's whether it is helpful for achieving our goals right now or unhelpful for that. And so we have all these foods that would be at the most helpful end of the spectrum for you to fit comfortably in. Is comfortably a word? For your forever jeans to slide on super comfy, 6-pack abs, and I want most of my male clients to be 6-pack to 8-pack, right? For women, what we want to see is high fertility, so we can't go down to amenorrhea, but then also lean and strength per body weight, right? It's basically, you know, I've had, I'm always working with a handful of women, but basically we end up with a physique that is like a collegiate or professional pole vaulter, right? We look like we can sprint, we look like we can jump, and we have upper body strength as well, right? And that's like the feminine ideal is pole vaulter, right? So it's not just I can sprint or I can run long distances. It's, the pole vaulter girls when I was back at UCLA, these are the ones that like they can do more pull-ups than like all the throwers on the men's track and field team, right? There's a big, huge guy that can like throw the shot put forever. Can't do as many pull-ups as the pole vaulter girl. Anyway, what we want to do is say these foods way down here would be the most helpful and get us there the fastest. But those foods might not be as enjoyable. So then we can say, well, what foods are next to those on that helpful end of the spectrum? And you know what? Those foods are enjoyable, right? Those, and people be like, people can have individual hangups on everything that you say, like, oh, chicken's a weak bird, right? Charles Poliquin told me that.
Hmm.
I'm saying we can have boneless, skinless, white meat chicken breast at one end of the spectrum that the bodybuilder thinks he's got to eat every meal and it's miserable. Or we could have dark meat rotisserie chicken. We can have the bodybuilder wants you to eat, white roughy, like some white fish that's terrible. Or we could eat salmon that's better, right? Or we could eat ribeye. Like there's all these foods that are going to get us going in the right direction because they are all helpful. Some of them will just get us there faster. And so if the whole goal is to optimize your hormones and make it as enjoyable as possible, we can get there in a way where we are dropping, generally for men, 1 to 3 pounds of real body fat week over week. This isn't like, oh man, I just saw that the sugar fast was trending and I dropped 12 pounds in 7 days, right? This is like actually sustainable progress on your way to your ultimate goal of sliding into the 32-inch jeans or the 30-inch jeans. And for women, I always coach women that to have realistic expectations. For men, it's really easy to say, okay, we're on a 24-hour cycle. Over a week, we've had 7 days to make progress on that cycle. And so we want to see, 1 to 3 pounds week over week. For women, we want to see 1 to 3 pounds, but compared to 4 weeks ago, right? And so what women need to do is uncouple this expectation of going straight to the goal and realize that, it's like you're going around the game board and you got to bob and weave through your 4-week cycle, but compared to the last, compared to like the last lap, that you're in a better place than you were, that you're ahead of where you were the last time you ran around the track. You're running better splits, if that makes sense. So it's totally possible that you start and your weight goes up for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. But when you get back around, you're lighter than you were. And it's really been inspiring. I have a couple of women, a couple of female clients that have just absolutely crushed it this year. And I think one of them was actually from episode 206 that we did last time.
Oh, really? Yeah.
They heard me on there and they're like, dude, unbelievable progress. But we just had to uncouple this like, oh, I got to be lighter tomorrow. We don't have to be lighter tomorrow. We have to be lighter after 28 tomorrows. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does. What are some other things with the female versus male that they have to deal with, or like how do you do it a little differently?
You know what? There's very slight differences. And so when I'm like deep in a VIP onboarding call, and I just want to like let's get it out there for your audience so they can use this, is if we are not in our ideal size jeans yet, then that's the goal, because that is your health, your fitness, your physique, your future. I mean that, like, it's your health. Like the guy did we talk about him on the podcast?
No, not yet.
Oh my God. Well, how about can we jump?
Yeah.
Let's jump in right now and do that one, and then it'll all weave back together. But so Brian, this past year, I moved to Europe and then I moved back to the States, and I've moved around, and I was like being a digital nomad because I can coach my clients from anywhere, right? And so I had this guy last June. I think it was actually June 1st. I go back in my Google Calendar and look. And he 110 pounds, super impressive. 10 months. Dude, it's 11 pounds a month. It's easy peasy, right? Because we did it in a sustainable way that was naturally optimizing his hormones the whole way. But he only did 10 to 15-minute home workouts and never went to the gym. Didn't have started at 300 pounds, didn't have the confidence to go to the gym, didn't want to go to the gym, didn't want to be in a gym. So drops 110 pounds in 10 months. But then his work is like on this convention circuit, right? And so that's another thing too. He's traveling around, doesn't always have access to a gym. So he's doing, his little 15-minute home workout in his hotel room. But he would actually have people come up to him at conventions and introduce themselves like he was a new person. And so he would be like, yeah, it's me, Joe. I've literally known you for 15 years. And you would just drop people, mind blow them. And then they book a call with me and they're like, Chris, dude, whatever you did with Joe, we have to do that. Like, here's my information. Like, let's go. When can we do the onboarding call? And so anyway, I had this guy where he came, he had the referral, had the recommendation, right? And so he comes to me and he's like, yeah, dude, I really want to work with you. Sounds amazing. Let's talk about it. And so this whole conversation, let's call this dude Austin, right? And Austin, he's our age. He's like a 1983 birthday, right? So he's 41 at the time. And he's just, not so subtly bragging about how great his life is. He's like, yeah, man, I'm in private equity. I got 5 offices around the States. And I don't know how he brought this up, but he brought up that he had like 2 private jets, right? And he's like, yeah, I got one that I fly on, and I got one that I kind of lease out as an investment. I only fly on that one when I really need like more space. And so this guy's like, I'm making $1 million a month. I'm only spending 2 or 3 million a year. So I'm saving 9 to 10 million bucks a year. I'm investing that. I'm in private equity. I'm definitely going to be a billionaire, Brian. Well, he's talking to me. I'm definitely going to be a billionaire, Chris,
Yeah.
by the time I'm 70. And I'm like, okay, dude, all very impressive. So I have a regular program that if you're police, military, firefighter, well, I just hook you up anyway. But I have got, like teachers and, mail carriers, like all sorts of people, all walks of life can do my regular program, right? The investment is such where it's like, if I want to work with you, we're going to figure a way to make it work. For this guy, I was like, dude, I can only offer you the ultra VIP program. I'll come out, I'll fly out to where you live. We'll do some in-person sessions. We'll do the onboarding all in person. Like, it's going to be like the best thing ever, right? We're going to get you to where you want to be. This guy, I don't think he felt the sense of urgency because he had the personal trainer, he had the private chef, he had the nutritionist, right? He's got the best doctors from the local prestigious university doctor, system. And in truth, he's probably, or at the time, was in better shape than 99% of Americans. 5'11", 205 pounds. So the BMI is overweight, but he's not obese. He's wearing 36-inch pants with his suit. He can bench 275 with his personal trainer spotting him. Like, he's a avid skier, like feels really good about himself and where he's at, but, just wants to have abs, right? In his job, it's stressful. Like, we're managing billions of dollars or whatever, making millions, managing billions. And so I tell him what the deal is. I'm like, okay, dude, here's what it is. You're going to be a VIP client, an ultra VIP client, and we're going to get you going in the right direction. And we're going to go 6-pack. We're going to get you down to the 32, 30-inch waist easily. Like, you got 6 months to do this. It's going to be no problem. Right? Well, then he starts haggling with me. Like it's another business deal. Like, his health, he's going to get the best bargain on it. I'm like, no, dude, I can't do that program with you. It wouldn't be important to you. You have to invest in yourself. And so eventually I just kind of write this guy off. But he's still following my Instagram. And so when I post something of me skiing, he's got my number. He texts me. He's like, oh, dude, you're skiing in, France. That's so awesome. I've never skied there, but I'm going to Deer Valley next week, blah, 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 blah. And so this guy, again, in what most people would think is great shape, 36-inch waist, doesn't have the midsection dialed in, but he's strong. He's only 205 pounds. He looks good. I don't know this, but it comes out later that he went down to the fancy university guys and the doctors put him on statins in December. Right? And so what's funny is simultaneous to this, I'm also getting back in the best shape of my life. And we talk more about that maybe next time or later or whatever. But he goes on statins in December. He's got all his fancy ski trips planned where he's taking his private jet all around the country, Jackson Hole, Big Sky, Deer Valley. He's going to Deer Valley 4 times. And so I had asked him a question because he wanted to know something about triglycerides and HDL and like where his trig should be. Dude, they should be down around 40. Where should my HDL be? Up around 80. Well, why aren't those my numbers? Well, because we're not working together. That's why, dude.
Well, he's working with like mainstream people, right?
Yeah, he's totally
all
mainstream.
The mainstream chef, nutritionist, doctor. Yeah.
Mainstream NPC, cardiologist.
Yeah.
And so he had asked me this question. I texted him back. This is Valentine's Day weekend, just this past year, right? Like a couple months ago. And he goes, whoa, dude, I just had the weirdest weekend. I was like, okay, well, what's happening with you? He says, well, man, I was skiing at Deer Valley and I got this pain in my chest. And I just kept skiing through it, man, for like 2 more hours. I was skiing and then it didn't hurt too bad, but it was like too weird. And so he goes to the hospital, like the ER up in Park City, Utah. And the dude had a heart attack skiing at 41 years old. And so what was mind blowing for me is like, Brian, I think we talked in episode 206 about, the reason we got into this was because of our parents, right? Like, my dad died when I was 18 years old. I want to be healthy. I've got a daughter now. I've got a son on the way in August, right? Like, I need to be healthy for the next 20, 30, 40 years, right? This guy who's worried about becoming a billionaire when he's 70 because he's invested so well, he's having a heart attack at 41. And it's like, well, yeah, your fortune might keep growing, but you might not be here to enjoy it. You might not be here to, see your kids get married, live their lives, have grandchildren, right? Because you tried to negotiate and bargain your way on health, and you went to this NPC, like the things you're saying, like the narrative,
Mm-hmm.
You're following, okay, well, my personal trainer's doing this, and my private chef's saying this, and the nutritionist is saying this. And so the guy has a heart attack. And now he's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars flying his own private jet to all the best cardiologists in the world. It's like, oh, we got to go to Cleveland Clinic. Oh, no, we got to go to the guy in San Diego. We got to go to the guy in Miami. We got to go to the guy in New York. And the list of drugs he sent me that he's like, so what, what are you on now? It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's just so incredibly sad. But the thing is, when we are willing to wear 36-inch jeans or 36-inch suit pants, and we are not giants, right? We're not 6'7", like that would be a reason to wear 36-inch jeans, is you're 6'7" and above. But if you're wearing 36s, you are just leaving the door wide open for metabolic disease and disorder and the things that cascade out of that. You're leaving the door wide open for a heart attack, for a stroke, for the cancer diagnosis. And you're doing that while you're still in your 40s, right? Like this guy's got the trophy wife, the young kids, 2 private jets, everything to live for. And now he's going to do it as, a heart attack survivor on all of the meds that you can get,
Mm-hmm.
right? That they can possibly put you on. And his chance of getting off of those are like nil. And so that really is the call to action for everyone. Is like, you have to comfortably fit into the right size jeans. And then Brian, like the exercises that you love, like there's a lot of fitness influencers that can't do 10 pull-ups, right? Dude, a regular person, a regular dad should be able to do 15. A woman, a mom, and I have, dude, one of my clients, when I say like we're getting into this like pole vaulter body,
Mm-hmm.
she just sent me, we have her down, she's petite, right? She's like 102 pounds right now. But that's what she should weigh. She's not underweight. That's what she should weigh. She's muscular, she's fertile, she's like, everything is good with her. She's strapped on like a 48-kilo kettlebell and can do a strict pull-up, right?
Wow.
So I don't want that to intimidate women, but like women, we should be able to do a pull-up or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Men, we should be able to do 15 pull-ups. Men and women, we should be working towards having the balance and the mobility and the strength and the stamina to do a full pistol squat. And for people that are listening, don't know what that is, a pistol squat is you stand on one leg. So you're standing on one leg, the other leg is out in front of you. You squat all the way down as far as would be possible, right? You have all the ankle mobility, the knee mobility, the hip mobility, right? To go all the way down to where we call it cheeks to sneaks, right? Like your butt cheeks down to your sneakers with one leg up, one foot on the ground, and then you stand up out of that. And so I can do over 30 of those in a go. It takes like 5 minutes, right? Because you're just like balancing and standing and balancing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the metrics we should actually be looking for. This elite health with like general physical preparedness at the highest level, right? That, we can do, like, Brian, how many pull-ups can you do? I bet it's a game.
Oh, I don't know. I do like weighted pull-ups. I mean, I did 50 with Bobby Kennedy. He cranked out 20 in a row, but I also think he might be on TRT. That's kind of the word on the street.
I think Bobby Kennedy's on the Sazul.
But he cranked 20, and then I was next. I mean, it wasn't like I did 50 in a row, but I did 50 in a few minutes, and then I had to do 100 push-ups, and we both did in about 6 minutes.
And so those are like, that is what I'm saying. That is like the elite general physical preparedness that, and you said this earlier, it's like, oh, we might have a few dumbbells or we might have an adjustable bench. The way I see it is like, we can all start with balance and mobility and core work. It doesn't take any equipment. And then the end game is pistol squats, chin-ups, dips, push-ups. And maybe there's a space in between where weight training, where we've got the simplest equipment, dumbbells and an adjustable bench, can be good in the intermediate range before you have the strength to do multiple pull-ups, 50 push-ups. Like there's room to work in there. We can just do, we can do body weight calisthenics all the way through to the highest level. Or there's a spot in there where it's like, oh yeah, it would be good to use some dumbbells.
Yeah.
Right. And so the thing is, if the fitness influencer that you admire or you think is so great doesn't have this elite GPP, can't just do 20 chin-ups, can't just do 20 pull-ups, can't do 20 plus pistol squats, like doesn't have the range of motion, like it wouldn't even compute, And so those are the things we should do. And, my wife, she's educated as a physical therapist, worked as a physical therapist, but she's like retired now. She's a stay-at-home mom. And so in physical therapy, right, if you want to stay functional and mobile and be able to enjoy your life, the test in physical therapy is sit to stand. And basically what this means is I can push myself up in bed, right? I was sleeping, I push myself up in bed. I can stand up. I can walk to the bathroom. I can sit down on the toilet. I can, clean myself up myself. I can stand up and I can at least walk back to the bed. And if you cannot do those things without losing your balance, falling, breaking a hip, or you're too weak because you already did those things and now you cannot sit to stand, is your life goes downhill so quickly. And so the highest expression above sit to stand is pistol squat and maybe sprint, right? And this is guys, there are two, for men out there are two, the highest two testosterone boosters we can have, the natural testosterone boosters. So I'm not talking about what you heard on the other big podcast where the guy's like, oh yeah, it's Tongat and ashwagandha. Any supplement like that, it gives you the smallest little bump, it's just going to work out in this feedback loop where eventually it becomes null and void, right? There are actually, right, this would be a great time to shout out your oyster pills, dude.
Oh yeah.
Let me bring back to that. But the actual top two testosterone boosters are winning and sprinting, right? As a human man or woman, like, so everything goes to the same for women. Women, we actually would love for you to sprint, right? The best physiques on women anywhere in the world is Olympic pole vaulter. We sprint, we jump, we use our upper body strength and our core to get over the bar. It's basically like you're doing an upside down pull-up, right? We got to win and we got to sprint. So I have all my clients, we play this little game every day that we just win. We do it with men and women. We find a way to stack this streak of W's, right? This sacred winning streak.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting one. Winning, it's like, it's more of a psychological thing.
Oh, 100%. Let me give it to you. They did this study. I think the study was early 2000s or maybe 90s. But they took all these college football guys and they're all trying to get ready for the NFL draft. And so they have them go out and they run them 40 yards. And so the thing is, you want to have the fastest 40-yard dash possible. And what they did is they lied to everyone. And some people, they lied and they said you were getting faster. Some people, they lied and they said you were getting slower. Well, guess what? The group that were lied to and they were told they were getting faster, they felt like winners. It increased their testosterone. They came back. They actually started running faster. The group that was told that they were running slower crushed their testosterone, felt worse about themselves, lowered their testosterone. They came back. They started running slower.
Wow.
So it's not, it's like that meme where it's like, oh, if I just think I'm a winner, right? I'm a winner. And so we set up this game that's easy to win, and then we just keep winning it. And your testosterone keeps going higher and higher and higher. And for women, you have the same effect. And we can say it's serotonin or whatever, but women, we got to keep winning too. And then sprinting, the most fundamental, foundational human movement that will make sure that you are not the person that's going to, in your 70s, we don't want to fall down and break a hip and break a wrist and, fracture a skull because you hit it on the nightstand. We have to stay strong and light and lean. And you want to move through life like you're this human razor blade. Like you can just slice through all these obstacles, right? And when you're not forcing yourself to win the calorie game, you're not depressed that you're overweight because you didn't have the discipline, you didn't have the willpower. When you're just lean and light and your hormones are working, like mental health is metabolic, right? Serotonin is a hormone. I just told your audience how to make it, right? Hunger means hunt. We eat complete protein. We trigger leptin. Now we've got tryptophan. Tryptophan is the amino acid. Leptin was the hormone. Tryptophan is the amino acid. All we got to do to take tryptophan and make serotonin is we go outside in the daylight, right? We can't be in our offices looking at a little screen all day. We got to just go outside throughout the day. We want daylight in our eyes, like hitting the back of your retina. You want daylight shining into your ears. You want daylight on your skin. And if you just expose yourself to the daylight, even if it's the winter, or even if it's the cloudiest, rainiest day in Seattle, if you just expose yourself to the daylight, your body will take the tryptophan and make serotonin. And then we can start thinking about how do we elevate your growth hormone? How do we minimize your cortisol? And how do we make this whole process repeat where you get leaner, lighter, faster, stronger? Or we could say you look better, feel better, do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we could just look better, feel better, do better, and feel like a winner because of it and keep winning, right? Like that's a psychological thing. Like psychology is hormones, right? The guys that are told they're slower, they become slower.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that are told they're faster, they feel like winners, they become faster. And so what I'm saying is Tongat Ali, right? These hormone boosting herbs or whatever. What's the other one? I just said it. Tongat Ali and
Ashwagandha, you said?
ashwagandha, right?
Yeah.
It's nonsense, right? It goes back in this feedback loop that just makes it meaningless. If we actually wanted to raise our testosterone, right, we would do what I call the core four. We'd beast, we'd feast, we'd fast, and we would sleep, and we would trigger all the right hormones in the right amount throughout the day. But what you could have to support that is the minerals that you actually need to make sure that your metabolism is working.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we just add in the right minerals, and it's so funny, dude, people in your audience might know there's this guy, kind of a con man, but he was a Victor Conti back in the day. So he was involved with like Balco Labs, the whole Barry Bonds, like the whole steroid scandal. Before he got involved in the steroid scandal, he actually had a supplement that worked that was zinc and magnesium. And so for fun, this is a couple of weeks ago, I'm on AI like, okay, well, what would be the best, testosterone supporting, hormone, testosterone, what would be the best testosterone supporting
supplement
I could create? And it's, it's zinc and magnesium. And then you go down, well, you also need the copper. And so it's what this guy, Victor Conti, was saying. He had zinc and magnesium. You need to balance it out with the copper. And it turns out the real whole food that you would do to increase your testosterone, it's the one that we all know is a known aphrodisiac, right? It's spiking your testosterone. It is oysters.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's the coolest thing. And I want to let your audience know, I'm not a supplement guy. I've never been a supplement guy. I was just, I was doing a thought experiment basically like on AI. But I actually went to Eat No Satale and ordered your oyster supplement, and you sent it to me. I don't know if you sent it to me, but you sent it to me. And it's exactly what you would want. So if we are feasting, fasting, sleeping, we want to make sure that we're getting zinc, magnesium, and copper. The whole food source is oysters. And it just so happens that, we're kind of the same mind, right, Brian? That like you saw through like, oh, well, people probably aren't going to eat a lot of oysters. But if there was a supplement, it would be that supplement. That would be an actual supplement that supports testosterone, not ashwagandha and Tongat Ali. And so what's crazy for me is, from 6th grade to 12th grade, like my dad was always dying of cancer. And sometimes we were doing the conventional therapies or the conventional medicine, and sometimes we were doing these alternative therapies. But at the end of his life, he had this metastatic prostate cancer at the base of his skull, and he's getting like radiation therapy. And so it's like frying all of his taste buds. And he would ask for us to go out to this awful restaurant. It's called Captain Nemo's. And we would go there like, I don't know, 4 or 5 nights a week. It's not there anymore. They tore it down and built a Chipotle, right? But it's in my hometown. There's Captain Nemo's. It's like, I don't know, like 2 stars on Yelp. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But he would ask that we would go there. And he would order their like oyster stew, oyster soup. And so looking back on it now, I'm like, wow, that like the zinc, the magnesium, the copper that is in that oyster stew, like even though he couldn't taste anymore, like his body still had the innate intelligence to be like, this is what's healthy. And it's like the only thing you want to eat. So I would suffer through these like miserable dinners. There's like nothing on the menu I wanted Captain Nemo's. But it was so my dad could go have this oyster stew. And really, there was, in his life, there was a time where I was with him at the hospital. It was actually the same hospital I was born. So it's Madigan Army Medical Center, in Spanaway, Lakewood, Washington, that area. So I was born at that military base, and then we're going back getting all his like conventional medicine treatments at that base. And I remember one time I was with him, and there was a doctor that was like, Jim, is that you? And he's like, yeah, what's it to you? And he's like, dude, you had like terminal cancer that you should have had 6 months to live like 3 years ago. Like, what are you doing here? And so we'd done some unconventional things, and he's like leaning into his oyster stew, but the way he made, like lengthened his life out to be there for me and my brother until at least I was able to graduate and my brother was able to, be a little bit older. Was incredible the way he battled. What's really sad though is the low testosterone life and the all of the conventional narrative that set himself that put him in that situation in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? He's about my height, not tremendously obese, but overweight with this heart attack belly where you can't put on the right size jeans.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can't have abdominal adiposity, visceral fat. We can't settle for a life where we can't just comfortably fit in the right size jeans and demonstrate core strength and balance and mobility and stamina on exercises like pull-ups and dips and chin-ups and push-ups.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, I didn't want to bring the mood
Oh,
down,
man.
but
Well, yeah. No, the same thing happened with my dad, and because he was relatively fit in his life, and then he just got the belly. He was never obese, but, I was looking at all these photos for Food Lies, we have to tell this story, and he
yeah,
was trying. He was doing the conventional stuff. He was avoiding meat. He was eating the whole grains. He was doing all the jogging, and year over year, he just got bigger and bigger around the belly, around the midsection. Yeah, he had the 36-inch pants. It was the whole thing. And it's the same story for everyone really that has lost someone or they get the chronic disease. So yeah, I mean that's what woke me up and started me on my journey. So it's good to bring up. And I mean it's good to bring up the oysters too. Because yes, I'm not into supplements. It's the only thing I take consistently. It's the only real thing I take. People give me all kinds of random supplements. I mean, I take the liver pills too. I get them for free. I don't really feel anything. I take them, here and there because they're free, and I don't eat enough liver in real life because I'm just out of the habit. But the oyster pills, I actually feel. It's the only thing that I take consistently and that I actually feel. Like it's amazing. Actually, I put out on Instagram that I give them my email, and if someone doesn't feel better, takes them for a week and doesn't feel any different, I'll give you your money back.
yeah.
So
Well, and what's so smart about it is because you go back to I was saying Victor Conti, Balco, is that zinc balanced with copper and magnesium are the things that actually support testosterone production. And so, Brian, my guess is you're probably doing almost everything right in your life as a whole to be healthy and fit,
mhm.
right? I've got my system dialed in. I've got it dialed in for all of my clients where it's like fitness, health, it becomes effortless, right? And so the one thing you can do, right, if we are, got our feasting, fasting dialed in, we know what hunger means. Hunger means hunter. We know how to interpret leptin. We're done eating. We're not giving into the silly craving for the thing. We're fitting in the right size jeans. The the one lever that's left after that is, do we have enough raw material to make the stuff?
Yeah.
And so Tongkat Ali and ashwagandha is not giving you the raw material. It is, do you have the zinc, the magnesium, the copper? And so for people that aren't going to go, I saw you posted the other day about you having your email address on there,
Mhm.
and someone put on there, it's like, yeah, but these, this the oyster pills are this much, and for a fraction of that, I could go to my doctor and get Cialis. It's like, well, dude, Brian's pills are supporting your naturally high testosterone so that you can be free of side effects and an actually healthy person, right? Cialis is big pharma trying to throw, covering up for the fact of why you can't get, quality erections. You're not even talking about quality erections. You're talking about, supporting testosterone and health, right?
Mhm.
And this guy's like, well, I could just go for $13 on a copay. I could go get Cialis. The point is to not need Cialis,
Yeah.
people. And again, how do you not need Cialis? And this is really the thing, I don't want anyone on any medication, right? It's natural hormone optimization. I think I said this earlier in the conversation is, if your body makes a hormone, you should not take that hormone. We should not take anything to do with serotonin or SSRIs. We should not take anything to do with melatonin. I
Yeah.
was listening to, he's one of the biggest fitness YouTubers there is. And so he's very into fitness. I think he's very poor at health. And so he's relating this story on this giant podcast about, yeah, my kids are terrible at sleeping. And, I've been feeding them melatonin at night. If you are feeding your kids melatonin at night, that is only a problem, right? And so the truth is, with all these hormones, is the more you are exposed to it, especially exogenously, especially taking it from the outside, is the faster it will age you, right? So these guys that are 20 years old on TRT or on, steroid, it's the same thing. Taking testosterone in your 20s. This guy's the other day is his Instagram post, and he's like, looks pretty buff. We want to be like, oh, dude, grandpa's looking great here, right? Like, you would think this guy was 54 years old by the way that the testosterone had aged him. Find out in his bio, he's like 29, right? It's like the way it ages you is crazy. We don't want to be exposed to more than the natural amount. So even insulin, right? Insulin is really aging us. And so what we don't want is the most insulin, even though it's your most anabolic hormone, it gets a bad rap. We don't want the most insulin. We want the most insulin sensitivity so that we can get by in our lives with the least amount of insulin.
Yeah.
Right. So that we have the blood pressure and the blood sugar and all these different great things. And so there is a way to naturally optimize your hormones. I'm not sure we got through it all today, dude. Like, we got to do this more often. Like, I think we do it every year and a half or something, bro. And I know that, you don't, I don't know how many repeat guests have you ever had?
I do it sometimes. I try not to, but yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to have to talk offline because, like, dude, it's like you said, dude, like, we're of the same mind. I feel like you and I, we could do this every week and just chop it up on, not on, Peak Human, but we could have another podcast. It's just like Chris and Brian, talk about health and
actually,
like,
maybe we could do that. Yeah. Actually, we did talk about that for a second. Just, like a side podcast.
Side quest podcast.
I think it's good. Just giving people just the easy stuff because, I mean, other than the oyster pills, we're not selling much, right? I mean, if you do want to work with Chris, you can work with Chris. But the point is that all this stuff is almost free, right? Like, and actually even the oysters, someone commented, oh, these oyster pills are like $52. Like, yeah, it's got 60 oysters in it. Like, it is concentrated. Like, if you go to
the grocery store, you get 60 oysters, bro.
Yeah, the best deal you can get, because of course, if you go to a restaurant, they're like $4 a pop. If you go to Whole Foods on Fridays, you can get them for $1. So right now, my oyster pills, which are just pure Irish oysters ground up into a pill, it's cheaper than going to Whole Foods and getting the cheapest oysters. So it's just about convenience, right? I love that when people who are selling a product, they're like, hey, you can do it the other way. Mine is just more convenient, right? It's like,
well, Brian, let me tell your audience, you would much rather get Brian's oyster pills for the zinc, magnesium, and copper from a real whole food that is just ground up oysters than you would ever want to go out to dinner at Captain Nemo's and eat the oyster stew. Like, I never would want to do that my entire life. I think, I've never even tried oysters just because I had watched, my dad's there sick and he's like barely getting by, Dude, I never want to eat oysters, but I realize that is an amazing source of zinc, copper, and magnesium to support testosterone.
It also has selenium that's hard to get, and some iodine, and a lot of B12. So
yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh, get your selenium from Brazil nuts or something."
Yeah,
Brazil nuts is like, it's all fat, right? Like, that's the snack that's keeping you fat. Like, do you want these healthy almonds? Do you want these Brazil nuts?
No.
And so, well, yeah, instead of burning, 10 Brazil nuts worth of body fat today, I guess I'll just eat 10 Brazil nuts to get my selenium. Right? It's a terrible trade.
And it's not as bioavailable too. Well, there's also something with nature. It wants it in the right package. So everything we're talking about is aligning to nature. That's my ultimate theory is sapien. What sapien is sort of these principles of living more like a human, right? I have sapien center, but sapien's a bigger concept that I'll be talking about for hopefully the next 10 years. And it's about aligning closer to nature. Because I think all the problems happen when you go away from nature. It's kind of obvious when you go to processed foods. That's going away from nature. It's like, oh, well, it still has 200 calories and it still has 10 grams of protein. And it's this amazing protein bar. Like, no, it's not the same. You can't cheat nature. You can't just put together something with the same amount of calories. It's not meat. It will never be meat. And so you can't cheat nature in anything. And when you go away from nature, it goes bad. Why do people have loneliness and suicide and depression? You're going away from nature in relationships. You're not having real relationships and real serotonin. You're not having real bonds with people. And so you have a sense of loneliness, stuff like that. So we got to wrap it up, but nature makes things in the right packages too. And so you need the synergistic elements.
Well, it's all hormones. It's all metabolic, right?
Yeah.
Mental health is metabolic, right? 100%, dude. Well, Brian, dude, I've loved talking to you. Let's do it again. Let's set up a side quest, whatever it is. And yeah, for everyone in your audience that wants to be a super sapien, right? That wants to fit into those forever genes. I just have so much respect for the people in your audience from last time that were able to reach out to me, right? And so if you email me, ck@krugerbody, it's KRUGERBODY.com, ck@krugerbody, or you follow my Instagram, the same at KRUGERBODY @krugerbody. And there's a link where you can go to the application for my coaching or just shoot me a DM. And if you shoot me a DM, put in natural T or something. Brian, I can't believe we didn't talk about this. We just didn't have time.
Mm.
Fertility coaching. IVF is like blowing up. There's 400,000 cycles of IVF being run. All of my clients that wanted to have a child got pregnant or having a child this year. And so, and it's on both sides. It's not just fixing the fragmented, low quality sperm counts. So IVF is a terrible thing for women to undergo and endure, right? It's hormone shots, it's multiple surgeries. It's terrible. And so
it's expensive too.
Oh, it's super expensive with no guarantees.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you want to get the job done the old fashioned way, it's all your hormones, it's fixing them up. And this goes for men and women. So shoot me. I can't, we got so busy like down the rabbit hole talking about everything else, but have the courage to reach out to me. Let's get your hormones, get you in the right size genes. If fertility is of an interest to you, let's do that. If you want a 6-pack, if you want an 8-pack, if you want to be the guy that can do 20 pull-ups and pop his shirt off at the beach or at the pool, let's do that. But it's about, taking these principles that we both agree on, Brian, and making super sapiens, which I guess is back in the day would have just been regular sapiens. Right?
Yeah. I know people think I'm so fit. I'm like, I'm just a normal dude, like absolutely normal. I'm actually not that big in person anyway, but I'm just like, this is what we all should look like. And I've gotten great feedback from people. I didn't even know, some guys around town was like, oh dude, I worked with Kruger. That's amazing. Like it was great. Someone I didn't even know, just like a friend of mine, and never told me until later. So it's working. You're doing well. And just sometimes you need some help. And that's why, I recommend Chris, because I don't do coaching. So it's you got to go with him. I'm not going to do it. I have way too many things to do. Got to finish Food Lies. I mentioned the paper. The paper is like part of Food Lies. Everything I'm doing is for Food Lies, right? So gotta get it done. It's gonna be huge. We're signing with a production company very, very soon, and that's the first step to get on Netflix. So I know people are asking, so that's the update. And thanks, Chris. Yeah, Kruger Body. I follow you on Instagram. Good times. We'll have to do this again.
All right, Brian, dude. I appreciate it, man. Love you. Love your content. Love the Food Lies Instagram. And dude, let's talk offline and figure out the next thing we're gonna do together. I know I'm definitely coming out to Austin sometime this year.
Awesome, man. All right, take care.